Hi guys, I'm Anthony. I work with low voltage. I'm going to give you a brief, detailed overview of what copper is. This is your copper cable that you will be working with probably 90% of the time. The ends to those can vary from your jacks that you have here, or can be your RJ45s, which are here. And these RJ45s will connect into your jacks when it's connected to the cable, like so, and then you just disconnect it. The tools that you'll be using when you're working with these, you'll need scissors, wire strippers, your punch down right here, a punch buddy, very handy when you're working in the field, and your crimpers for the RJ45s. There's a screwdriver here for when you're working with the punch buddies, or even in the closet when you have to remove jacks from their panels or from your punch buddy. Right now we use a lot of Cat 6 cable, which you can see here, which is labeled, and so we use a lot of Cat 6 because 5E is being eliminated. We don't really use that. The distance that you have from Cat 6 is between buildings is about 300 feet. Any more than that and you start to lose a lot of your information and your speed that you want. The Cat 6 you can get up to 1 gig of information through, which is relatively a lot if you consider how much information you're actually using. So I will demonstrate to you guys how to terminate your jacks and your RJ45s. Alright, so now I'm going to demonstrate to you guys how to terminate RJ45s, which will probably be the easier ones to do. The RJ45 usually is pretty clear with about 6 gold bars that run across the edge of it. Very easy to distinguish whether it's an RJ45 or a jack. The tools that you'll need for to terminate an RJ45 will be your wire strippers, your scissors, and the crimpers. So those are the 3 tools that you'll need for this. Makes it very simple. When you have more experience, you can cut a little shorter on the casing with the wire strippers. When you're still learning how to do it, go ahead, give it about 1 inch of space on the casing. Take about 2 turns of your finger around, bend it once, the casing comes off very well, very easily. Within the wire itself, you will find 4 pairs of copper wires, along with an extra just plastic piece there that helps divide the copper, and some what feels like angel hair within it that helps actually cut the casing. What you'll do is you'll just cut it, both of those two, not the copper, not the color, as closely to the casing of the cable as possible, and then the color order that you'll want to put it in is it'll be white, brown, brown. On this wire specifically, it's a light brown, but on the other wires it will be a white casing around the copper with a brown stripe around it, and then you'll have a solid brown color. Then it'll be your white orange, which would be your light orange in this case, along with your solid orange, and then actually that's a jack. I'm thinking of the jack, not your RJ45. Your RJ45, what I do actually is I separate them into when you first. Hold on, let me just read you this. Yeah.
You don't have to restart all the way.
Yeah.
Wherever you felt you messed up, like when you're calling it a jack or whatever.
Yeah. So for your RJ45, you'll split them into, they'll naturally flow into whatever direction that they want to do. Go ahead and split them that way. And then just take your time untangling your wires here. your copper wires here. It takes a little bit, but you'll be fine. What you want to do next is you want to take your scissors. They have 2 grooves on here. You'll just set your copper wire in there. You press down and pull. That'll help straighten it for when you're trying to put it into the RJ45 itself. You'll do that for each of the copper wires. The brown and orange are usually easier than the green and blue, just because they have less twists in them, and that makes it a lot easier to straighten out. The way I like to do my color code is as you separate them into their naturally flowing directions, your color code will kind of follow. So you'll start with your orange, your white orange, orange. You'll do blue, blue white, brown white, brown, green, white green. And so your color code for the RJ45 when you insert it is actually white orange, orange, white green, blue, white blue, green, white brown, brown. And so it can be confusing. It will take you time to understand all of this and for you to get it right. That's why we have practice. When you've got it in that order, you'll give yourself probably, I like to cover it about the middle of my thumb over to the edge of my thumb there. And that's from the casing to the copper. From there, you'll cut a straight line across. I've got a trash can under here that I'm gonna cut into. You'll want to keep this as straight as you possibly can. That way, when you're putting it into the RJ45, your wires don't get mixed up. It's very easy for them to get mixed up. The way you'll insert it into the RJ45 will be tabbed down. This guy right here. That tab will be facing downward, and you'll have your, what seems like gold, it might actually be brass, at the top here, and you'll push it as straight and as flat as you possibly can into. And so once you've done that, you'll want to observe as closely as possible. Make sure that it goes white orange, orange, white green, blue, white blue, green, white brown, brown. If it looks good there, then you'll check the tip. Make sure that you'll see copper at the very edge of the RJ45 here. And if you see copper not protruding, but touching the very edge of that clip, that's how you know that it'll make a good connection. All right, now that you've made sure that everything is in order and that all the copper is coming to the edge of the RJ45, you're gonna take your crimpers, and what you actually want to do is you want to push in as you're going to crimp it. That way you make sure that the wire stays in as you crimp it, as you close the crimper. What we like to do is we like to do an extra crimp just in case. Make sure that it's down completely. You know that it's completely crimped down when it releases on its own. After that, you'll want to give it a nice tug, a nice firm tug, to make sure that the wires don't come loose. If it comes loose, it's a bad crimp. You got to start over. However, that looks great to me. I gave it a nice firm tug. Nothing's coming loose. The copper's still at the edge here. Wonderful. All right, now I'm going to demonstrate to you guys how to terminate regular jacks, the Cat 6 jacks that we're using. We have normally 6 jacks here. This is the colors that we use. They normally come in a bag. Well, When they're delivered, they come in a box of 20, and they come in a bag nice and separated with all the extra parts that you need, from the backings to front covers that tell you if it's a computer or if it's a phone. The bags themselves have a nice little tear piece here that you can just tear off if you want to easy access to it. If you want to struggle with it, go ahead and cut it. We're gonna use this orange jack to terminate, and we're just gonna demonstrate to you guys how to do that using the same wire we did the RJ45 on, just on the opposite end. The tools you'll need for this will also be your wire stripper, your scissors, your punch down, and your punch buddy, along with the screwdriver to help get your jack out of the punch buddy when that time comes. So the same process as the RJ45, you're gonna take your wire strippers about an inch from the edge of the wire, a nice two turns around the wire, bend it, pull off the casing. And similar to how we did the RJ45, there's the two extra components within the wire that you can just cut out. And same thing, cut as closely to the casing as well without cutting the wires. Now that we've gotten rid of those extra components, I'm going to refer to the jack here really quickly. Now, out in the field, there's two variations of how people like to terminate jacks. There's an A and there's a B. Here in low voltage, we do B. And if you look into the jack here, on the inside, it reads A, B, B, A. So the outside colors will be your A, and the inside colors will be your B pattern. So we'll be using the B pattern. And within the B pattern, it'll go brown, white. So I'll separate the brown. And then the next color that follows will be orange. And it'll be white, orange, orange. And then it'll be green and blue. So this will be your basic color pattern when you first start. Now that you've got your basic pattern, we'll go into the actual pattern, which will be your white, brown, brown. So when you separate it, make sure at the very top left, you have your white, brown, and then brown. The next color that follows will be your white, orange, and then your orange. On the opposite side, on your right side now, at the very bottom right, you'll start with your white, green, and your green. And then at the very top, you'll have your white, blue, and blue. And that's going counterclockwise when you're looking at the actual pattern. Let me do this so you can see. Cool. For this, we do the same thing as with the RJ45s. We will straighten them out so that when we put them into the jacks, it's easier to terminate. So the same as with the RJ45s, you'll use your scissors with the notches in them to straighten out your wires. Run them through about once or twice. Go through all of them, make sure that they're as straight as you can possibly have them. Like I said before, your brown and orange will more than likely already be straight, or as straight as you'll probably be able to make them anyways. Now that you've got your wires in order and they line up with your jack, you'll want to put your you want to use your punch buddy. You put your jack in, you have a clip here, and that's very important for how you want to orient this. It doesn't matter which side you put it in, however, you want to put in the side that has no clip in first. As you put it in as an angle, you'll push the side with the clip in, and it goes in very smoothly. Once you're ready to start terminating, you line the wires back up again. you'll push the wires into their color spots, and you'll just kind of use your thumbs and you just push them down just a little bit, and they'll hold in place very nicely for you. You go from color to color. And that's how it'll look. So you take your sharp edge and put it on the outside, and then you punch down once. You just put a little bit of force of it, and it'll cut it nice and clean. Sometimes if you have an older punch buddy like I do, it'll take a couple clicks, and then you'll have to brush it off yourself. So I always like to do 2 pushes with mine. And as you saw, the green jumped out of the way, and it was a nice clean cut. You do that all the way around. Make sure you get to each one. Now, after your initial punch, whatever wires are loose, you'll want to tear off the extra wires. As you can see here, I have a green wire that didn't go down all the way. What you can do is you can take your punch buddy or your puncher, make sure your wire is inside the designated area, and you can punch it down one more time. And now, as you can see, it's pushed all the way into the slot. Now this blue one that didn't cut completely all the way, just go back over and cut it one more time, give it a couple bends, and you're good. You'll want to inspect your jack and your wires to make sure that they go down all the way. So you'll want to look at both sides to make sure that you have no little lumps in between where your color coded is. Once you verify that that is complete and that none of your wires are look weird and they are pushed all the way in, you take your screwdriver, go to the side with your clip. You can push down on the clip, and then what that'll do is that'll give you leverage to push the locking mechanism of the clip off, and you can remove it safely. Once you've done that, you can take your metal backing for your jack, and you'll want to put it on the side that has a little more room to help secure your wires in safely. Once you have them pushed down, it's very hard to get the metal backing off, so you're safe from your wires coming out unless they're put in extreme stress. Alright, now we're going to start testing. Before we actually test our terminations, I want to tell you guys a little bit about our actual testers here that we have. Currently, these are the testers we have. We have your main tester, and we have your probe. I'll get to the probe in a minute here. Your main tester has two, well actually 3 different ports that you can test into. You have your left that actually tests the grade of your terminations. You have your right that is used for tracing lost wires. Lost wires, I mean wires that you have but you don't know where they run to. And so from time to time, you'll take your probe here and you'll make sure that you plug into your right side, go to the trace function, which I'll show you in a minute, and you use your probe to scan wires across wires to understand which wire you're looking for. It'll pulse through a signal that'll sound music-like when you find it. Okay, now for the actual test. You'll hit your power button on the left here. It'll run through a series of options of what you can do. Oh, it didn't stay on.
You have to
I got
click
it. Click it.
twice,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So you turn on the power and then you click select and
Okay.
it'll keep the light on.
All right. Oh shoot. Okay. So we're gonna start the actual test now. When you turn it on, when you hit the power button, it'll go through a series of just commands that you can do within the tester. What it'll ask you to do first is if you want to plug it into the right or left side of the tester, right and left. You'll take your RJ45, you plug it onto your left side because we're actually testing it. And on the screen, it'll say menu up button. You'll hit your up button. You'll want to do a Cat 5, Cat 6 UTP. You'll hit the select. You'll always want to do a certify test. So you'll hit select there as well. It'll tell you to make sure that you're plugged into the proper side of the tester and that your probe is not plugged in. You'll hit it says exit up, test down. We want to test, so we'll hit the down button. It has two options for you to either test a patch cable or test a solid run. And so your patch cables will vary between sometimes 4 feet, sometimes it's 10 feet. It just depends on your situation and what you need to test. Patch cables will normally take longer to test because the amount of information traveling through is actually slower than a longer run. For this, we'll want to actually test a patch because that's what we have in front of us. So we'll hit select and then the test will begin. All right, now that the tester has gone through the speed test, we'll attach it to the probe for the final part of the test. You'll take your probe and one of our already tested patch cables within the casing, attach it to the probe, and then you'll attach that patch cable to the jack. It'll run through its test. On the screen, it'll tell you what footage you have on the wires, and then it'll give you a grade. This is exactly what we want. We want it to be at the 6 or above. When we have that, that means that our patch cables can deliver up to at least 1 gig of data within that path. Now, the other capabilities of the tester is to trace lost wires. In order to do that, you'll plug it in onto the right side of the tester. You'll go to still Cat 5, Cat 6 UTP, and then you'll go to trace tones. Once you hit select, that'll send a signal through the wire that plays a tone. At the very beginning of the test of tracing, you hold down your trace button on your probe, you'll run it across, and at the back of your test of the probe, it'll emit a sound. Once you hear that sound, you'll be able to identify that this is the wire that you're looking for. That concludes this video on basic copper information from terminating to testing. If you have any questions, please ask your supervisor. Thank you for watching this video.